Good evening. Welcome to this mini workshop. This night we will learn more about bilingual education. And thank you for being here. If you have any question, you can write in the comments area. If you are here with me, and if you are observing or watching this video, after, because I will record this and share with anyone that asked me for sharing. So you can leave me your comments in any of my uh, social media accounts. So let's start with our topic for this night. I will share with you. A second. This night, we will talk about or learn more about how help your student learn to read bilingually with your children, even if you don't speak Spanish. Many parents, Spanish speakers or English speakers, that um, want to teach their children in a second language ask me this question. What language should I read to my children at home if I don't know Spanish? Uh, because many parents think that if they start reading in a second language and they are not fluent in that language, they can confuse their students. So today we will review these kind of ideas and how we can overcome these questions or these doubts about bilingual reading or bilingual education. We need to understand that reading is more than knowing the letters of the language, its alphabet, and the sounds those letters represent. Reading is much more, and when we understand this, we are able to help better and effectively our children. But before continue, I want to introduce myself. I have been a teacher for over 20 years in my native, in my country, Venezuela, but I am been here for about 8 years, and I have developed all my bilingual skills, my English skills, to be now a bilingual teacher. I am also wife, mother, author of two books, one in Spanish and one in English about bilingual education. Also an immigrant and English learner, because when we learn a second language, we always are learners of that language. In March 2020, I create CJ Learning Keys. And since then, my mission has been to share my knowledge to help many parents stimulate their children's learning skills in multilingual environments. Today, we will understand better what is reading, identify the components of reading, assess the importance of the native language in the development of reading in a second language, and apply practical strategies to develop bilingual reading at home. The first thing that I want to practice with you is your reading skills. And you have a task here. I want that in 30 seconds, you try to read and understand the text that is in the screen. I will put my timer in 30 seconds. Start now. You can start trying to understand what is in this reading. If you notice, the test have some challenge. Everything is in capital letter. There are something weird in some words. And you can notice some challenge to read this, right? Okay. The 30 seconds is done. And now I wanted you share with me in the comments area if you could understand the test, if you can read completely, and how you feel with this test. Thank you for your answers. And yes, there is no easy reading, right? Because all in capital letters is a challenge. But also, we notice there are some words in French. And this causes a little of interruptions in our process. But even though this interruption and these difficulties, you can understand at least partially this test. I will read the whole test in English only. And I want that you try to encounter or find out connections between those words, especially those words that are in French, how they do relate with English, and how and test if you could understand more than you think. Being a bilingual is among the best pleasure in the whole world. Think about it for an instant. You can use two different languages at the same time in a such way that makes your brain wants to explode from the speed by which it switches from one language to the other. So I hope that now with this reading, you notice that you almost get the meaning, the central idea of this test. And how is this possible? How do you understand? How is this possible? That is because your native language, your prior knowledge, and your reading skills. You are a reader in this moment, and you have all kind of knowledge that you don't realize you know. For example, read from left to right and from bottom to top, from top to bottom is something that we even realize that little students need to learn that skills. Fortunately, English and Spanish and French share this same kind of directionality. And also, we come back here and we can notice, for example, the word bilingual, the word instant, the word languages, like languages, explosion, similar to explode. We have some words that are similar and can help understand the test. In our brain can understand these words because they know how that sound and how they their meaning in their English language. So in Spanish, there are more similar words that we can also help understand Spanish when we are learning Spanish. And as I told you at the beginning, if we understand reading only as a phonics, so we are like stopping our way to help our students. We need to understand that reading is more complex. It's a complex process that involves many components. Phonics is one of them. That is the letters and how the letters combine and what sounds represent those letters. But reading starts in the oral world, in the phonological awareness. When your baby is in your womb, at this time, about between the 6th and the 7th month, students or babies start listening. And in that moment, when our ears start functioning inside the womb of the mother, at that moment, the reading starts, because reading is not only letters. That letters represent sounds, and we start that learning of those sounds since we are inside the womb of our mothers. When we develop this through the years, Then when we have 5, 6 years, we start the phonics that is and understand how sounds are represented in the letters. And all those together create our vocabulary. When we have a strength in our oral phonological awareness, phonics, and vocabulary, then we can read almost automatically, like we are talking, because we can become fluent readers. When we want our children learn skills in a second language, that involve reading, but also involve listening. So in the way that we provide our students in environments, in a context that is also part of the reading process, in a context where Spanish is important, is valued, and the student can participate in activities when Spanish is the main language or the target language, this student can develop the oral skills to then learn how phonics works, increase the vocabulary to then read fluently, to finally comprehend, and then explain that or involve that in a context. Everything start and interweave together. So we need to provide all these stimuli when we want our children learn how to read in Spanish. Many parents tell me that their children can read fluently, but they don't comprehend. What happened is because we maybe are having a strong emphasis in phonics. Learn the phonics in Spanish is relatively easy. It's easier than English. So many students can do this task or learn this very fast. And the sounds are easier also. So if the student know how to read in English, easily become the understanding of the Spanish phonics could be very easy, and then they repeat, but like almost like automatically, and then become fluent, but they don't comprehend. If that is your case, it's maybe because these other two components are not strong enough, either in the native language or in the second language, in Spanish. If you notice that the comprehension is not the strength area of your student, but can read fluently because understand the letters and the sounds in Spanish, they don't have a good understanding and phonological awareness. They cannot understand something when someone talk or speak in Spanish, and the vocabulary is not strong enough. We need to start make connections with the English vocabulary and the Spanish vocabulary to get that comprehension. So context play a key role here, because our context, our students need to be involved in environment that value the native language and continue to strengthen the native language, but at the same time provide elements and time for Spanish. So we need to become also a family that want to learn in Spanish. When we want that our students learn Spanish, we as parents also become Spanish learners. If as a family, we don't use this strategy, like everybody at home is learning this new language, it's very difficult for the student learn the second language fluently, because they don't see the connection in their environment, in their context. So maybe that also create poor motivation or a low motivation to continue learn a second language. So when your children are exposed to the two languages at the same time, so your goal should be strengthen reading in your native language, the way that your student can read fluently and very, very well and comprehend in English, that give a lot of prior knowledge that your student or your child can connect with the second language, in this case, Spanish. So both things need to be balanced and nourished at the same time. Reading skills are transferable. That means that what your child learns in their native language will be equally applicable in the second language and vice versa. Even though the phonetics is different between Spanish and English, and there are different grammar rules, there are many similarities. And in the way there, and the first of all, if your child love reading and learning in English, that skill is transferable to Spanish because they like the challenge that means learn a second language. But if the student struggle in their own native language, we need to provide more support in the native language to help them then learn a second language. If you're interested in your child to learn Spanish, there is a good news. 40%, approximately 40% or about 40% of the English words are related to Spanish words. These words are called cognates. And also, they help you as parents learn the language, but because as I told you before, you need also become a Spanish learner in order to help your student, your child, to become a Spanish learner. And here the cognates are the key strategy when we are trying to learn Spanish or English or vice versa. Here an example. Especially in the academic vocabulary, we find a lot of these cognates. Observe in the English side for English language arts, verb, adjective, verbs, and language. And observe how these are read in Spanish. Verbo, adjetivo, verso, lenguaje. These words are similar, have similar pronunciation, similar spelling, and means the same because the root of this word is Latin, and Latin is the root that combine or that you can make connections between Spanish and English, and you already know 40% of those words, but you don't realize you know it, and your student neither. So we need to make this practice, this exercise to find these cognates, these similarities to start learning more Spanish. Here in math, we also have a lot. I hear some examples. Some mathematics, angles, meter, area, and line. Suma, matemática, ángulo, metro, área, y línea. And in some words, like in area, it's almost the same, except for the tilde that is a mark needed in Spanish, but we don't need it in English. And it's the only difference because also the pronunciation is very, very similar. In science, animals, energy, solid, liquid, gas. Ciencia, animales, energía, sólido, líquido, gas. In social studies, we also find these cognates. Even social studies is a cognate. Estudios sociales. Culture, debate, history, president, liberty. Cultura, debate, historia, presidente, libertad. But now the strategies. How can we help our children read bilingually? Read together every day. That is the best. And you can apply this from now. Take reading like a main activity. Even though you have a few time, you need to try because reading is an important skill that develops everything. So strengthen reading skills in one language, in the native language, immediately made this student transfer many skills to the Spanish. So read together every day in English if neither of you speak Spanish as parents, but little by little introduce the Spanish in reading at the time that proficiency increases. Use bilingual books. This is important because you as parents, you know English, So you can understand and also help your student, because it's very, very likely that your student is learning how to read, how to process information in your native language, comprehension skill especially, right? So with bilingual books, you strengthen your reading native language, and also you can compare. And also, if your student is in a dual language program, for example, and know some words and how to read in Spanish, you can listen. Even though you don't understand everything, you can listen how your child feels when read Spanish. And if they say, oh, I don't know how to read this word, you can teach him or her how to research this word. And one important key here is enjoy and have fun. Don't try that you a student read perfectly, neither English, neither Spanish. Reading need to be a fun practice. Enjoy reading with your children in both languages. There will be confusions. When you learn two codes, there will be confusions, but don't pay attention to those confusions. Don't feel bad for the mistake. Don't feel bad for the confusion. Celebrate those, because we learn from our mistakes. So students need to make mistakes in order to learn, and you too. So don't feel afraid to make mistakes in front of your children. When you make a mistake, you recognize, you try also to pronounce some Spanish words that your student observe that you want to learn with him or her. And there are more strategies. I have 5 more here for you. And you can read all the time, every day, but read for short periods of time, especially if you don't feel like your child like reading too much, or you feel like there are a rejection in learning a second language, or even in reading in their native language. So it's prefer read for 1 minute, because it's something short and the student can enjoy 1 minute reading, and only one paragraph, something that you can practice better and faster, and avoid that rejection for reading or for reading in a second language. Start with 1 minute and then increase that amount, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. You can increase by day or by week, depend on how you observe your child motivation. A little bit every day is better than never. So use this strategy very, very consistently. Establish a story time routine. Set a specific time for reading and stick to it. The time before going to bed and to sleep is the perfect time, because it's a time where family can meet together in a couch or in the bed and read a story and share some minutes of enjoying the family time. This is an special time. Use technology to your advantage. Don't pretend that learn a language faster. It's little by little. And when you don't understand a word, use any translator, any dictionary, artificial intelligence. All these are not perfect, but there are tools that can help you and your child. Allow your child to select books according to his or her interests. This stimulates your child motivation and boosts their confidence and self-esteem. And question before, during, and after reading. Maybe you don't know how to read in Spanish, but if your student know, ask question. What does this word mean? What do you say? How you can read this word? If your student is learning, also ask question. What you are learning until this moment. Use audiobooks, also bilingual audiobooks, Spanish audiobooks, to help you and your children the listening portion and to understand more. And question, what does that mean? How is pronounced? Is preferred a little paragraph or a little book, and make those questions. Question is more important than the amount of reading. Is quality versus quantity. Quality is better than quantity. And here there are some resources that I suggest. Google Translate, I think that is a great resource. It's not perfect because we know that Google Translator sometimes is literal, and there are something that we need like think more because there in Spanish there are words that have multiple meanings, and they made the translation sometimes difficult. Also, there are reverse in many words between English and Spanish that are used in a reverse order. So Google Translate sometimes make those mistakes, but it's a good resource. Also, you can use in artificial intelligence, any kind of app that you like, because there are some that you can also talk to the app, and they answer to you the response in the language that you ask to do it, and can follow your directions and help you learn a second language, or help you with the learning of your student. I am in the Orange County, in Florida, in Orlando. If you are here with me, or in any place that you are, looking for the resources in Spanish in your local library. In Orange County Library, there are a lot of Spanish books and bilingual books. So use the bilingual first, or combine, depend on what is the level of Spanish proficiency of your students and yourself. Here is a resource that I want you to recommend, is Mi Libre Hispano Kids. In this YouTube channel, you will find read aloud, the Spanish books read aloud. Sometimes are bilingual read aloud. So this is important to help you. You don't need to read to your child. Someone, a Spanish native speaker, reads to you these books, and that helps with this part, because Spanish is something that you need to provide orally first before start, or you need to nourish this before expecting that your student or your child know how to comprehend a text. First, all the oral word, and then we go with reading and writing. ReadWords is a platform that have its reading English readings, English reading, but there are like classified by topics and by age and level, grade level. So this is an important resource to strengthen your English reading with your child, and also to, if you use any of these, Google Translator or artificial intelligence, sorry, I mix with my Spanish, artificial intelligence, because in Spanish is inteligencia artificial, is reverse. So look at how that reverse things is also for me a challenge. Okay, so in ReadWords, the readings are in English, but you can use Google Translator, any artificial intelligence app, and translate those readings in Spanish, and you have a bilingual resource. So that is a great way to find more bilingual reading. If you don't find a lot of books in your area, or you don't find it in your local library branch. And other resource that I want to recommend is my book, From Escuela to School. This book is related with all those parents that have immigrated to United States and face the challenge to help their students and raise their students in another country with another school system. Maybe if you are not immigrant, the first chapters can help you to understand what the immigrant family feels, and their questions and their struggles and the challenge when they immigrate. But since chapter 3 and up, there are many strategies and many things that apply even if you are immigrant or not, because emotions are a key factor in the learning of a second language. And you need to think if your child like to learn a second language, or feel frustrated, or feel like overwhelmed, or don't feel nothing because it's something that mom wants that I learn, but I am not interested in. You need to measure that because that influence your child learning process. And even though you are immigrant or not, each parent need to provide a structure. Many times we think that bilingual education, we need like a magic recipe for that. No, we need to provide a structure like any other subject area. If we provide our students with a space to learn, quietly. We provide with a lot of reading material. We provide with a lot of exposure to that language. And we have routines and habits. We do a lot, even though we don't speak the other language. If you don't speak Spanish, don't feel that you cannot help your student. Yes, you can do it with your native language, even though you don't know Spanish. How? Providing a structure. Showing your student also how you manage your emotions where you're learning a second language. You need to become a Spanish learner too. And because native language is the key, you need to stress English, but at the same time, you need to show your student how to love a second language and how what strategies you use to learn and how you can help and guide your child in this process. And 6 and 7 are especially with a strategy, full of strategies for content area. 6 is especially in each of the 4 content areas because academic content and academic vocabulary is key in the learning process if we want that our student only speak Spanish or use Spanish in social situations. If you want that they use it in academic situations and with a great fluency and master Spanish, you need to review this chapter. And the 7 is more practical that you can apply even though you are not immigrant, sorry, and you can apply all these strategies also for learn anything that you want because many of these strategies is related to how our students learn, not only a second language. Because when we start doing this, we notice that the second language come like because it's like the consequence of all these structure, all these processes. And I want to invite you to this event, Lectura Bilingüe, Taller para Padres. It's in Spanish, but if you are interested, you can go and expose yourself to Spanish and your child to Spanish. I will teach here more strategies and you can apply many of the things that you learned today, but in paper and with my guidance in this time. You will learn effective strategies. You will practice that. You will observe by yourself how the 5 components of the reading interwood together. Sorry, I try my best with that word. Help your children with their learning. If you are interested, scan the QR to register because there are limited space because it's in a physical space. It's in a library branch in South Creek branch. If you are in Orlando, especially in Orange County, the place is there. I will record this, so I will send you. You can observe that it would be February 23rd at between 2 and 3 p.m. It's Sunday. And would be a very a great activity for a Sunday family time. So and down is my website cj.learning.kids.com, and for Instagram, my Instagram account is at cj.learning.kids. So it's the same except for the com, so the com. So if you have any question, okay, I'm reading now your comments in the chat. Oh, thank you. Thank you, all of you that connect this afternoon, this evening with me. And thank you for listening. And oh, everybody say that it's clear the information that you will try to use this at home. So that is great. Use it from now. And if you have any question sorry, in the future, you can leave me a message in my Instagram account, in my email that is the same like the web page, but with @gmail.com. And also in YouTube. I have my account, so looking for CJ Learning Kids in YouTube, and you will find many, many resources. Right now are all in Spanish, but I am building also my English site. And in my website, you can find English resources. It's the only place where right now I have English resources, but you can. I am working in create more English resources for you, for parents that want English speaker parents that want your child or your children, sorry, your children become Spanish speakers too, or learn Spanish. So um, I hope this information helped you to start building those skills that you need for become a Spanish fluent speaker. Thank you for your time. You can send questions or comments to my Instagram account or any other of my account. Thank you once again for being here, and see you on February 23rd if you go to the library or in any of my social media. Have a good evening and thank you. Bye-bye.